Okay, so I already have the drawing done here, but I really don't want to have too much of this graphite down. The reason being that should I have any highlights on the form, which I will, I don't want my highlights to blend with the graphite. It'll just make them look dirty. So here I'm outlining the form using one of my mid-tone colors and creating what's called local color. Local color can be described as the perceived color of the object unaffected by shadows or highlights. In essence, I'm laying down the color of the hair in my reference, which is like a dirty blonde. Now, I'm not going to just use one color for my local color because I don't have a single pencil that matches the hair color of my reference. Instead, I'm going to blend colors in thin layers until I get the color that I'm happy with. In this particular case, I'm going with a light umber and a goldenrod. Initially, I'm just laying down some color. I'm not really paying attention to the form yet. I just want to get a layer of color down because I find it easier to work from a mid-tone. I am, however, paying attention to my highlight areas, being sure to leave these areas blank. I'll go over them later when I'm adding my highlight colors. Now that I have my mid-tone down, I'll start carving out the form. I'll do this by adding a layer of browns in the dark areas. And while I'm not really paying attention to texture at this point, I am trying to define some of the larger bunches of hair within the braid. I'll worry about texture later. Notice that I'm going back to my mid-tones as well, adding layers of them in between my layers of shadow tones. Also notice that I'm still not applying a lot of pressure, but rather focusing on my use of color to create value and form. Now I'm going to work on texture and details. Here I'm going to work on creating the illusion of individual hairs, as well as refining the shadows and highlights that I established earlier. I'm applying a lot of pressure here because the waxy nature of the Prismacolors lend themselves to glossy subject matter such as hair. Also, this technique, called burnishing, will help blend together all the layers of color underneath. This can be done with any color, or it can be done with a colorless blender. It's up to you. I'm also using this opportunity to add in some of the stray hairs. Alright, you'll notice here in a minute that I'm going to start adding black and white. Notice that I'm saving this for the end, and I'm only using the black to accent some of the texture and push back the darkest values, and I'm only using white to accent the brightest parts of my highlights. I typically don't add these while I'm layering because I think that everyone has the natural tendency to just put black where there are shadows and white where there are highlights. But really, a lot of this form has been carved out by much more natural looking colors, such as burnt umber and brown that I was using for my shadows, and also the ochres that I was using for my midtones. And that's it, guys. You can reference this video on YouTube or Schoology. Good luck.